So on the starting grid for the first of the two reverse grid races, it's going to be James Caswell on pole position in the yellow-green car on the left-hand side of your screen, with John McClintock alongside him, then Matt Cook and James Braid on row 2, Jose O'Donnell and Richard Spanners-Ready on row 3, then John Langan and Colin Ward on row 4, Nick Alexander and Taro Tylus on row 5. Then come our top 10 from the feature race, which will be James Wingfield and Mark Greenhow, then Alex Smith and Callum McIntyre, Danny Henney starting in 15th, ahead of Alexander Dobbelsberger, Stephen Williams, Tim Ellis, Alex Jonesware, and our feature race winner, Kyle Power, in 20th. There we see Luca Harrison in 33rd place. He's got a lot of work to do in this race. All 5 lights are on. And we're underway at Spa once again. It's a fanning of the pack as the third place car of Matt Cook tries to come through the middle there, but Caswell will have the line down into La Source and should hold on to the lead. No, he's lost it on the exit of the corner. Absolutely perfect commentator's curse there, and it's John McClintock who takes the lead out of La Source and is side by side with Matt Cook coming towards Eau Rouge. There is Jose O'Donnell trying to get into the mix as well, ahead of James Braid and Colin Ward, the gold driver championship leader, all neat and tidy as they head up towards Raidillon for the first time. And here comes Matt Cook going for the lead down into Les Combes as they rise up the hill for the first time in this sprint race. It's Matt Cook on the inside who takes the lead into Les Combes, and Jose O'Donnell trying to find a way through as well, but John McClintock just holding the position there.
All very well behaved on this first lap, nobody touching each other, nobody causing any major incidents. Such a shame for the leader there to have spun out at the first corner, but that's pressure for you of this championship, Chris.
Certainly is. And speaking of pressure, Colin Ward was under big pressure there from Spanners-Ready, who we just see coming through on the inside out of the Jackie X left-hander. He's up into 5th place, has Taro Tylus for close company. There is Ward, now getting a bit swallowed up by the pack through P1. But Spanners running a little wide out to P1 there, but very much in this fight. Remember, he made a big vie for the podium in the first sprint race at the Hungaroring, and maybe he can make a similar fight for that position again today. Through Stavelot for the first time, it is still Matt Cook leading by just half a second to Jose O'Donnell as they come to the back straight. Jose O'Donnell, not an unfamiliar person to the podium, as we see John McClintock going side by side with James Braid behind them. John McClintock, a racer in real life in the States. He's driven many a sports car around Laguna Seca, but he's going to be losing a spot here to James Braid if he's not careful. Hangs it out around the outside, but Braid comes through just about. Yep. And next up in the queue is going to be Spanners-Ready trying to make a move there. Oh, there was a bit of contact down to the bus stop.
It's Power and Ellis, Chris.
So, wow. So we were just talking about Kyle Power extending his championship lead, but he's now losing those points as I think Danny Henney, I just about saw him go through unscathed.
He did. So Kyle Power and Danny Henney were actually having a little squabble there, and Ellis seemed to lose it in front of them. And I think Kyle Power has got some damage because he just entered the pit lane, so that is an absolute disaster for him.
Wow, this is the championship leader pulling into the pits with damage, and of course no mandatory stop in the sprint race, so there he's used his fast repair there, so stationary for as little time as possible, and he'll rejoin the race, but down in 34th place. Not what he needed at all. And meanwhile, up at the front of the field, we've got Jose O'Donnell who's just moved into the lead of the race ahead of Matt Cook. Sorry, Chris.
I was going to say, you're just going to sit this out and hopefully there's going to be some more incidents ahead of him, because realistically he's not going to make up that amount of time, Chris, because he ended up facing towards the wall, had to engage reverse gear to be able to get out of where he was. Absolute disaster for him.
Well, it seems like he used all his luck in that feature race, and well, we'll see if he can get through race 3 unscathed. He may well be able to salvage something. If he can just break into the top 20, he can bag himself a good grid spot for race 3.
Back to the front of the field, we've got Spanners-Ready in a little bit of a battle here. He's got John McClintock ahead of him, only a few tenths ahead. He's also got Taro Tylus and John Langan just prowling behind, so we'll see coming through Blanchimont into the chicane who's going to be ahead.
Yep, Spanners the lead of the Platinum drivers here in a sea of silver, which is running 2nd through 4th, and then in 6th place as well. So real mixing up of the categories in these reverse grid sprint races. On board with Taro Tylus as he heads towards the bus stop, and a big naked maneuver, and he's gone into the back of John McClintock there. He left it way too late on the brakes. That almost looked like a disconnect, didn't it? It looked like a failure of the system rather than a driving error.
Oh, I'm not sure, Chris. I think he locked his brake and he just couldn't. He was unsighted with the 2 cars ahead of him, got maybe a bit excited into the braking zone. That was a spectacular on board as we started flying towards the barrier, wasn't it? I don't know about you, but I kind of clenched a little bit as we were going towards. Wow, what exciting pictures that we're getting here. Thanks to Steve Amy for providing that fabulous onboard shot.
Oh, by the way, side by side, once again for the lead of the race. Matt Cook coming back at Jose O'Donnell here, down towards Lake But of course, Taro Tylus there, second in the silver driver standings, trying to make a bid for the lead while Luke Power is not racing this weekend. And of course, that's going to massively compromise him as we've got Matt Cook in the overall and class lead of that silver class at the moment as well.
Some of the platinum starting to come through. We've got Dobertsberger up into 9th place, just overtaken Alex Smith, and closely behind them Danny Henney is in 11th place. So we'll see them trying to carve their way through the field. Next one up for Dobertsberger will be James Wingfield in that red and yellow car.
Yeah, of course, we've got Callum McIntyre in the 201 car there in 7th place, who he is running a 3-digit number here, but is sort of an honorary platinum driver, really, given that he is a driving instructor. So it seems only fair to put him in the top class for this one. But there we see he's gone through, and behind him Dobertsberger has made up another place as well on James Wingfield, up into 8th place now.
I believe you've had some tuition from Driver 61, is that Chris?
I did, yes. Made a huge amount of difference, actually. Not that we're sponsored by them or anything. It's not really a sort of paid endorsement, but yes, I had a great session with Driver 61.
It's always good to get some tuition, because you can probably they can see things that you won't necessarily see. So it's always good to get some outside views on how you're driving, Chris. And he may want to know that he is about to have a good challenge for Colin Ward here. He's going to be brave to try and stick it up the outside of this corner, because he will leave himself vulnerable coming down the straight.
He certainly will, but the fact that they've got John Langan in front of them as well might just be a saviour. Gregoire Gomez does the fastest lap of the race in 14th place, but here is the opportunity for Callum McIntyre. It's got Dobertsberger filling up his mirrors as well, so he's got to play this one carefully. On board with Dobertsberger as they rise up the hill through Radion. And McIntyre's got a run, but Dobertsberger's got an even better one. We're going to have a double pass here potentially on the outside. As, we are 3 wide. Ward in the middle there. McIntyre on driver's right towards Lake And Dobertsberger, with the momentum though, goes sweeping around the outside and picks up 2 places in one corner there.
Yeah, classic move there, as you said, Chris, with a double toe. What an excellent performance there for Dobertsberger, up to 6th place. And he's now got John Langan ahead of him as his next target.
Yeah, and we've had the leaders squabbling once again. Jose O'Donnell slipstreaming past Matt Cook on the Kemmel Straight on that occasion as well. And they're kind of doing what I think Henney and Harrison were trying to do in the feature race, where they're just sort of slingshotting each other, but they actually are quite successfully pulling away from James Braid in 3rd place there. Gap almost 2 seconds.
Yeah, they're definitely trying to secure their places on the front 2 ports of the grid. And at what point do you give up the camaraderie and start going for it, Chris? Is it penultimate lap, final lap? Who knows? But
gotta leave it late, haven't you?
The gamesmanship, as I say, you want to be. It's final corner stuff here, Chris. It's where the action's at.
Certainly is. Here is James Braid in that 3rd place, under pressure from Richard Spanners, ready for the last spot on the podium, heading towards the bus stop chicane once again, and Spanners will have the line under braking into the chicane, and that is a very smooth move indeed from Spanners to move up into the podium places.
Beautifully positioned, just got his braking perfectly right, hit that apex perfectly. He didn't miss it this time, so yeah, he's up into that podium. Let's see if we can keep it coming into the end of the race. He had a bit of pace on James Braid, so we'll see if he can just make that pace tell.
Well, I wonder now if Jose O'Donnell and Matt Cook are suddenly a light bulb's going to go off in their head and think, oh, Spanners could be closing in here if we squabble a bit too much. And speaking of squabbling, nose to tail once again. This is just going to be the form at Spa from now on, I think. So side by side once again, it's Cook on the outside line. How hard is O'Donnell going to fight it? Not very hard indeed. So Cook goes through and reclaims the lead. And once again on lap 5, that's probably the 5th or 6th change for the lead we've had in this race.
And what we couldn't quite see, but the drivers in the cars would have definitely have seen, was a back marker spinning ahead of them into the corner, which might have put the frighteners on them. That was actually Alex Van Gien who stuffed it in the wall. So one of our panellists not having such a great evening tonight.
No, started the feature race from the pit lane and wanted to see how high up the order he could get. Unfortunately, the answer is not that high at all. Worth pointing out, both of these drivers, according to my stat sheet, are competing for their first podium overall in the F3 Cup, and Spanners also fighting for only his second. So a lot on the line for these drivers.
He has. So Spanners has taken about a second out of James Braid behind him, and he's about 2 seconds behind O'Donnell. So he's drawn in only a couple of tenths, so it's not quite the pace that we were expecting there, as we go back towards Kyle Power down in 28th place. So somehow he's managed to claw his way back up the field. It's quite amazing, really. I would have thought he would have been miles off the pack.
Yeah, I think just as long as he keeps his nose clean, he's still within a good shout of a top 25 result in this race. It'll be important for him if he can make it into the top 20, as you see another car going off there and another place gained for him. This is what Power does best. Could well find himself at the front of the field for race 3. But rejoining the lead battle, we've got them coming out of La Source once again, and that gap to Spanners behind them does seem to be coming down. It's now 1.7 seconds as they go through Eau Rouge once again. We're on lap 6 of 9, so there's still an opportunity here for Spanners to try and close them down, especially if they keep squabbling and they start costing each other time. There we see, just in the back of shot as well, Alexander Dobertsberger coming through the pack as well. He's now up into 4th place ahead of James Braid there, as O'Donnell comes through into the lead as well. So can Dobertsberger now challenge for the podium? It's all change on the way into Lake On this lap.
It is on lap 6 of 9. You just definitely can't be sure yet. Dobertsberger is only a second behind Spanners Ready, so there is definitely a threat to his maiden or his second podium position of the season. And he will be looking at his mirrors as that Ace of Spades, that beautiful Ace of Spades car starts to reel him in, I imagine, as Dobertsberger's got some good pace around the circuit.
Certainly does. Took his first win of the season last time out at the Hungara Ring as well in the 3rd race of the night, and now could well find himself on the podium once again. He's closing down Spanners Ready, the gap 1 second, as you mentioned, Chris, and we'll have 3 laps to go at the end of this one. And it does look like Spanners is just chipping away at that gap to the top 2. So this could all sort of converge in the final moments of the race.
What you say about moments, though, Chris, Spanners did get a little bit wide, lost himself some momentum down the back straight. It's cost him about 0.3 of a second, and that's put Dobertsberger right on his tail, only half a second behind. So maybe that's the pressure telling of trying to have one of these platinum drivers coming up behind you.
Yeah, that might be the break that O'Donnell and Cook needed, because that gap, as you mentioned, really strung out now. 1.8 seconds as they head towards the chicane. Once again, I think Spanners at this point needs to turn his attention to what's happening behind him rather than what's happening ahead of him. Because I'll tell you what, as well, Callum McIntyre is now up into 5th place as well, and is going to be closing them down as well, as the leaders come out of La Source once again, very close indeed.
And so just squeaking into shot there was Danny Henney taking 9th place off Colin Ward. So he's one to watch coming through Wingfield and Langen as well, Chris. So, but yeah, a couple of laps left, but there's all to play for.
Now this seems to be the biggest gap we've seen between the top 2 coming onto the Kemmel Straight all race, hovering at around 0.6 of a second. For the first time, it looks like we're not actually going to get a position change down into Les Combes. So is this O'Donnell making a break for it now, try and pull away from Matt Cook? He seems to have got the hammer down as well, and I think a little mistake there from Cook just cost him quite a bit of momentum. He's just lost about 0.4 of a second in those couple of corners there. So O'Donnell looking very handy at the moment with 2.5 laps to go for his first ever race win in the iRacing F3 Cup.
As you say, there a mistake from Cook has made O'Donnell go for it. So yeah, he's going to have to really push now. 1.2 seconds ahead. Spanners might get a little sniff of the slipstream, and he is going to need it, because as we ride on board of Dobbitsberger just behind him, he's going to be putting massive pressure on for that final podium position in the last couple of laps.
Oh, a little wide though from Dobbitsberger into the Fanier chicane, but if he keeps close enough, he should be within striking range. Apologies if you're seeing him blinking in and out there. We are limited to each individual user's internet connection here, but yeah, should be in striking range for that last spot on the podium, provided he gets a good run out of curve Paul Frere, which it looks like he has done, but maybe not close enough quite to challenge into the bus stop chicane.
I'll take a little bit of blinking over a red flag, Chris.
So two laps remaining in this sprint race. Here is Danny Henney in 10th place here, just trying to get onto the back of this pack. I think he's lost the spot actually there to Colin Ward on that lap. That must be the slipstream effect taking place there. So will be another good haul of points here for Danny Henney. Not the result he would have wanted, but crucially outscoring Kyle Power, which is what he needs to do to decrease the deficit that was 43 points going into this round. Leaders heading up Eau Rouge.
Back Dobbitsberger in P4 as he is bearing down on Spanners. Sorry to cut across you there, Chris. Go for it.
Yep, so Spanners making his move very early, swinging across to the right-hand side of the track. Dobbitsberger in the slipstream is going to be forced a long way round. Doesn't fight it around the outside, though, and decides to live for another day. He'll pick a later opportunity. Obviously, with a lap and a half to go, if he makes his move, there's every opportunity that Spanners can come back at him. But he's got to be careful for McIntyre behind him as well.
Yeah, McIntyre, you can just see he's just moving his front wing just out from behind the two in front of him, trying to capture any bit of clean air he can get to draw himself into this fight. Dobbitsberger goes slightly tighter than Spanners, but you can just see, as we were just talking about it there, that dirty air made him wash wide. It's so tricky through this infield section, but he seems to have gathered a run from that. Move to the outside through the trees, there we go.
Spanners taking a very defensive line into Fanier there. He could get himself all crossed up here because he's giving Dobbitsberger all of the impetus he needs to try and make a move, running very close to the gravel, and Spanners, I'm afraid, his defence of third place could well be coming to an end here because Dobbitsberger has pulled out alongside him, and McIntyre is going to make it 3 wide on the run to Blanchimont. He has to back out of it though as he was on the curb, and Spanners still just about holding on to this place as Dobbitsberger runs wide at Blanchimont, but he'll have the line into the bus stop chicane, and this should be third place for Alexander Dobbitsberger. Spanners is not taking this line down though. Fantastically done, and McIntyre now fancies a run at Dobbitsberger. Last lap of the race.
That is the widest F3 car I've ever seen. Spanners got very pointy elbows today. Dobbitsberger getting a very tight line. Spanners goes wide. Oh, I think he might have given himself up that position, as he is now being swarmed all over again, Chris, as we come into Eau Rouge. They're going to be side by side through here.
But there's every opportunity he can come back at him though, and they are side by side through Eau Rouge for the last spot on the podium. Brilliantly done, and Spanners still just with half a car length on Dobbitsberger as they rose through onto the Camel Straight, and McIntyre desperately trying to find a way into this as well, but Dobbitsberger will have the line into Les Combes. He was on the outside last time. Can he make the inside line work for him? He breaks very late indeed, but still Spanners is driving the widest F3 car you've ever seen, Chris. But Dobbitsberger has just found it. Oh, a little nudge there with the wheel, with the front wheel there of Spanners. He gets forced out, and McIntyre now fancies a run down the inside into Rivage as well. Dobbitsberger's gone off. They make contact, and Callum McIntyre is now in the podium position. Suddenly, we're going to have 3 drivers here, all taking their first podium in the same race.
Or will we though, because McIntyre did lock a wheel and just clattered into the side of him. So is there going to be a post-race penalty coming? And behind them there's an absolute squabble of Wingfield Spanners Ready and Langen there is so close on this final lap once again.
And I'll tell you what, McIntyre is on 11 incident points, so one little off-track excursion and that'll be it for him. I don't know if they'll look too much into that incident, and we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. But here is Jose O'Donnell, who leads by 1.5 seconds as we approach the final couple of corners. Jose O'Donnell, who squabbled with Matt Cook in the early stages of the race, played the strategy to perfection and knew exactly the moment he had to start pushing and break away from the pack, as Jose O'Donnell comes out of the final corner now and takes his first ever win in the Missed Apex iRacing F3 Cup, with Matt Cook taking the silver class victory and his first podium as well. Callum McIntyre provisionally at least third, and his first podium as well. That is going to be a delighted trio.
It will be, and I hope we're joined in the commentary booth by Richard Spanners Ready. Spanners, that was a very eventful last couple of laps. Talk them through them.
How's it going, guys? Oh, it's horrible. You know, I was chasing down those front two for that whole race. Great fight up ahead by Jose and Matt. I don't even know who won up, but Jose won that. Fantastic result for him. But as I was closing down, finally, the guys from the reverse grid started catching. So you see Dobitzberger and Callum and Langen starting to come up, and I don't know if you saw me like defending into Lecombe a few times and just going, how late can I go on the brakes? How much do I want this? I wanted that podium so badly, and I think in the end, I'll look at the replay. I think Dobitzberger ran me out of room a little, but not too much to complain about given how hard that racing was.
It was superb hard racing, and I could tell you wanted it, Spanners, when you were side by side through Eau Rouge. I think that we did a massive intake of air. I don't think there's much left in my room after watching that.
Credit to Dobitzberger as well. Oh my goodness, like to be that sort of precise, and you have to know together that you're going to take those lines, that you're going to take every inch and leave room through those two turns. It is frightening, even in just VR. I vow I will never race this track in real life.
Absolutely, and I think it's a testament to the skill level that we've cultured and got together in this Missed Apex iRacing Cup, that you can do that and trust them implicitly. So
it was good racing. I hope that was good to watch, because I suddenly remembered halfway through that race, oh yeah, we streamed this and this commentary. I'd best not look like, because too often I'm sensible and I give the place up. I thought, no, not this time, I'm going to fight.
Well, it was plenty of entertainment. Thank you very much, Spanners. Fifth place in the end, great result.
No, I wanted to win, Catman. I wanted to win.
Maybe next time.
Brilliant stuff then. Let's take a look at the results then from the first sprint race. Jose O'Donnell takes his first victory in the F3 Cup by 1.8 seconds in the end, and is joined on the podium for the first time by Matt Cook and Callum McIntyre as well. We said that was his best result in the feature race. Well, he's just gone and betted it already. James Wingfield, brilliant in fourth place there as well, with Spanners fifth. John Langen up in sixth in the end, with Danny Henney recovering to seventh from 14th on the grid, with James Braid starting from the second row, ended up 8th, and then Stephen Williams and Colin Ward in 10th place, with Luca Harrison 11th, so that will put him inside the top 10 for the next race as well. A remarkable recovery from 33rd on the grid there. Dobitzberger could have been on the podium for that last lap calamity with McIntyre. He ends up 12th, ahead of Sexton, Taro Tylus, Frick Smith and Alex Johnsma, and then we get into the front few rows for the final race of the night. Stephen Taylor, Tim Ellis, Alex Smith, and on pole position for the next race with 20th in this one is John McClintock. So we are going to go and take a very quick break, but we will be back once again with the third and final race of the night.